What's up everybody, it's Ben from the Ben and Bev channel. I'm excited to bring you guys a mainly spoiler-free review for Thor Love and Thunder. Thor Love and Thunder is the fourth entry in the Thor series and second entry in the series from reinventor Taika Waititi. He took the Thor trilogy in a whole new direction with his last film Thor Ragnarok, which slowly over time has crept up to being one of my favorite MCU movies overall. Its mix of comedy and heartfelt emotion, as well as stylistic flair, amazing sense of escapist fantasy and science fiction, truly taking Thor into the more kooky directions that the comics have taken him in the past. The Space Viking wasn't as spacey until Taika took over, and I was even more enthralled to find out he was going to be doing the next entry. The reintroduction of Natalie Portman, bringing back fan favorites like Korg and Valkyrie, not to mention adding Christian Bale and Kurt Russell to the cast list, I knew that this movie was probably going to be a big one. And of all the movies on that last MCU slate announcement at Disney Investor Day, what seems so long ago, this was one of the ones that I had my eye on. The first solo hero to get a fourth film.
And something big it is.
The film kicks off with probably one of the best introductory scenes for a Marvel movie I've ever seen. It introduces us to a villain both equally parts tragic and terrifying, and the way Christian Bale plays Gorr the God Butcher from opening scene to end of film is so impactful. His villainous presence is maniacal and at times just so rimming at the edges with that tragedy that's his life. It completely captures your attention in the scene. As much of a scene stealer as he is, this introductory scene did a great job of establishing him as a serious threat in a movie with a really goofy character like Thor in the lead. And once again, Chris Hemsworth is bringing that comedic action. His timing is flawless. As much of a big goof as Thor is in this movie with all the jokes that he cracks, there's a very serious story angle about gods and where their place is really in this universe and where exactly that reflects on himself, and even gets to see some of his heroes and people he looked up to in the past brought down to his level or even lower than him, and it completely changes who he is as a person. The story is really great, and Taika handles this kooky sense of space Vikings just as fantastically as he did the first time. And though there's no big appearances from characters like Mark Ruffalo's the Hulk or even a Goldblum's Grandmaster,
don't get your hopes up.
Each character that does appear in this movie has a really nice arc that ends up getting tied together by the end of the film. And though the end of the film is the one part I did have a few gripes with, as it gets a little cheesy, as I said before, there's so many highlights in this movie, whether it's the actors and Chris Hemsworth, Christian Bale, Russell Crowe's amazing Zeus, or Natalie Portman doing a phenomenal job with this version of Jane Foster that really feels like it bridges all four of the Thor movies as well as the whole MCU continuity in general. They actually do a great job of backfilling us in on some of those details about her leaving, and did a phenomenal job of tying the story together for those that might not actually be that familiar with the MCU in general. Her and Valkyrie both have really great chemistry. In fact, almost everyone in this entire movie has great chemistry together. There's not a single line that doesn't feel like it should be delivered in the way it should. The fact that there was 4 hours of this movie somewhere does make me really excited to see that hopefully at some point down the line. But unlike Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, I don't feel like we actually lost that much in this movie. This movie has a really great first, second, and third act, and an ending sprawl that actually carries on a lot longer than I expected. The different planets and colorful worlds we go to are also another amazing CGI spectacle on the big screen. I mean, I was in awe at some of the visuals we were seeing. It's amazing what they've been able to do with these movies, and the way that they pushed it with this one is something to behold. In fact, they even use some of the visual effects as a gag. There's a scene involving depth perception in Gorr's planet, that's all I'm gonna say. It's stunning. There's a bunch of interstellar jokes. There's a joke about Chris Hemsworth leg day. Seriously, if you're gonna go see a movie in the cinemas this week, make sure it's Thor Love and Thunder. An absolutely fun, riotous adventure with a really meaningful story arc and a lot of philosophical questions about where exactly allegiances and influences lie. Taika once again showing off that he can flex both comedic and emotional moments with this really dark material. That's not just with Gorr the God Butcher's backstory, that's with the Jane Foster Mighty Thor angle too. I'm not gonna dive too far into that, but if you've read the comics, you know what I mean. It's a very dark story. Taika blends all of these emotions together, and though at times the flow from sad to happy doesn't really land, for the most part, it's a spectacle. I don't know if it's nearly as strong as Thor Ragnarok. It's definitely batting up to par. I'm not sure if I really have a final rating for Thor Love and Thunder. One thing I can say for certain, funniest, wildest, and most visually mind-blowing Thor movie that we've seen. Heavenly, Ascendant, I mean, things I never thought I'd see in existence, let alone outside my mind's eye. Combined with a phenomenal, very synth-heavy 80s rock soundtrack, as well as some great song appearances from Guns N' Roses, as well as a phenomenal set of after-credit scenes accompanied by Rainbow in the Dark by Ronnie James Dio. Glorious. That's all I gotta say.